Let's start this video off by asking a very simple, yet possibly complex question. Does anyone think that Salem is actually going to lose? And to be more specific, her goal is to unite all of the relics together. She hopes that that will resummon the gods and they will judge humanity poorly and wipe everyone out, including herself. But her goal is to unite all of the relics. Does anyone actually believe that within the RWBY series, the relics will not be brought together? As you can all probably tell by the title of this video, I think it's pretty much guaranteed that Salem's goal is going to be achieved. The relics will be brought together. Now, whether Salem is actually going to be able to accomplish that herself, or if someone else will actually achieve that for her, there's a number of different ways that this could actually happen, but ultimately, I don't see any way that Salem will not win. Sure, Team RWBY and everyone fighting against her will be able to delay her, and quite possibly even trap her, but I don't think there's any way that they could just straight up defeat Salem, destroy her permanently. We saw during the Lost Fable, during a previous reincarnation of Ozma, that he asked Jinn directly, "How can I destroy Salem?" And her answer was, "You can't." Presumably, that is factoring in if Ozma did go get the Relic of Destruction and tried to destroy Salem that way. Now, it could be up to interpretation what exactly Jinn meant in that moment, that perhaps it was just that incarnation of Ozma could not destroy Salem. But I think it's pretty clear that even if he was able to get to the Relic of Destruction, that would not be enough to destroy Salem. She does have immortality gifted by the gods themselves. Essentially, what I would equate to, at the very least, an equivalent power to the relics. And I don't think any of the relics could destroy one another, and thus I also don't think that the relics could end up destroying Salem. So, at most, I think she'd be delayed by the Relic of Destruction. Maybe she'd be destroyed for a certain amount of time, but we really don't know what the Relic of Destruction does at this point in time. I do have some ideas, but that's separate from this video. Ultimately, I don't think there's any way that she can be destroyed or stopped, and her goal right now is to gather the relics. In fact, she already has two of them in her possession, the Staff of Creation and the Lamp of Knowledge. So, as long as Salem is pursuing the relics, they are gradually being removed from their vaults and coming together. Now, the simplest solution to stop Salem in her tracks is just to never open the vaults. But, you know, the plot of RWBY kind of is pushing us in that direction. And not to mention just the plot alone. Can you think of any show that has dangled something like this in front of its viewers? That you gather some number of things in the world, or you meet certain conditions, in this case, gathering the four relics and bringing them together, and then something massive happens. Something essentially world-ending. In this case, the gods are resummoned. Is there any show where that is dangled in front of the viewers and it doesn't actually happen? Not really that I can think of. The endgame world-altering scenario that, in a lot of series, is trying to be prevented for a majority of the series itself, normally ends up happening somewhere around the final season of whatever show it is, or at the climax of a movie, etc. But it always ends up happening, because if it doesn't, that leaves the audience in a state of wondering what would happen. How exactly would it have played out? Especially in the case of RWBY, ever since we found out about the relics, and especially the Lost Fable in Volume 6, this has been the endgame. That the relics are going to be brought together, the gods are going to be resummoned, and then we will find out what happens afterwards. That is the point that could alter things, when the gods themselves are there, because they are fallible. They can possibly be negotiated with, but that's going to be the following video after this one. For now, I want to talk about how exactly the relics are going to come together. Because, as I said already, as the vaults are being opened, the relics are being brought out into the open, and Salem is going to be hunting them continuously until she has them all. Now, I do think it's possible that the relics that Salem has now will be able to be retrieved from her. We've seen now in Volume 8, if someone is able to deal enough damage to Salem, she will stay disintegrated or destroyed for a certain length of time. I think it was only like an hour or so. Maybe it was 2 hours or more. We know for a fact that Hazel had said when he first met Salem, he killed her over and over again, and the most that she was ever gone was 2 hours. I'm assuming that he was still not able to destroy her as much as she was in Volume 8, because, Oscar kind of blasted her with enough kinetic energy to destroy a giant whale. I'm pretty sure she was, like, disintegrated almost completely. So maybe we'll just assume it's a little bit longer than 2 hours. Regardless, Salem's never going to be gone for long. But if someone is able to deal enough damage to her, she will be gone for enough time that someone will be able to get the relics from her and escape for, periodically. They're never going to fully escape Salem because she will never well and truly be gone until the gods get rid of her themselves, which is exactly what she's hoping for. And if Salem herself is the one to summon the gods, I think that, I think that's very likely that the gods will just wipe out everyone, because I can say for certain that the God of Light is probably not going to be very happy to see that he gave this quest to Ozma, and then it's Salem there to greet him when he finally returns to the world. Yeah, he's probably going to assume, humanity's just lost and just wipes everyone out. And as it stands right now, with Salem having 2 of the relics, that seems like the likeliest scenario. Salem is going to be able to get all of the relics herself, and then summon the gods. But depending on how Volume 9 shakes up, if the characters that were transported to this other world come back with new abilities or more knowledge on maybe how the relics work, if they encounter other races that may have some knowledge of the gods themselves, and maybe there are some parallels that can be drawn, information to be gained. We will have to wait and see for Volume 9, but things I think are going to be shifted yet again after the next volume. And I don't think that Salem herself is actually going to be the one to bring these relics together. As, again, you've probably been able to tell by the title of this video, I think that RWBY is going to be the one to let Salem win, or rather, achieve Salem's goal for her. That RWBY is going to get the relic of choice at some point in time. She's going to put it on, and she's going to see a choice in her future. We learned this with the Indecisive King, and supposedly it was the relic of choice that was featured in that story, that it was a crown that when put upon someone's head, they were shown a choice in their future. Sounds, very reminiscent of what the relic of choice is likely going to be capable of doing. I think that RWBY is going to get this crown, and she's going to see a choice that she will be faced with in the future. Maybe it's going to be whether to hand a relic to Salem. Maybe it's going to be choosing between the lives of her friends. That stereotypical thing that's often done in shows where the evil villain is standing there about to win, and the one protagonist has the last piece of the puzzle. So the villain just threatens all of her friends, or, threatens life as they know it, saying, give me that last piece, or I'm gonna kill your friends right in front of you. And then RWBY might end up handing over the crown to prevent that scenario just entirely, before she's even faced with that decision, or at the very least has had some time to think about what she would do in that situation and know to hand over the crown. Now, as far as we're aware, the crown does not show you what would happen after you make the choice. You're just shown what choice you are given, whether you will choose one way or another, supposedly. So, it's also possible that the choice that RWBY could be shown is whether to bring the relics together herself or not. If someone is able to best Salem, get the relics away from her, then someone, probably on the protagonist's side, although it could also be Cinder, and that's a whole other situation entirely. If it's Cinder who actually stabs Salem in the back, destroys her for a certain period of time, it takes both relics away from her, as well as possibly the Relic of Destruction for Vacuo, and then beelines it to Beacon to try to get the Relic of Choice. Maybe hearing that RWBY had found it by this point, or that Glinda had found it, or something or the other, and then Cinder becomes a very big problem at that point in time. But I kind of like the idea that Blake and Yang will somehow be able to get the Relic of Knowledge and the Relic of Creation away from Salem somehow, likely with the help of many other people fighting in Vacuo. Weiss will get the Relic of Destruction, and it will be all the members of Team RWBY that end up bringing the relics together. That it is RWBY's decision to bring the relics together and resummon the gods. That she herself decides to confront the gods. Because of the way that the RWBY series has been going. We've been following RWBY. Not Team RWBY, but Ruby Rose herself. She is the main protagonist of the series. We've seen her grow from her first day at Beacon Academy, going through all of the trials and tribulations that she's had up until this point. And I think, after everything she's experienced at Beacon, at Haven, the fall of Atlas, and everything that is going to happen in this other world and in Vacuo, this is going to give her the worldly experience and ultimately, quite possibly, more experience than almost any other huntsman on the planet. Outside of Ozma and Salem, she will be a third force that is aware of a lot of the inner workings of humanity, that she will decide herself what she wants to do and what she wants to say to the gods when they are resummoned, that she will make that choice herself and ultimately achieve Salem's goal for her. However, I don't think that it'll play out exactly as Salem planned. And as I mentioned, that is going to be the topic for my next video. So let me know down in the comments below how you guys think things are going to play out in the RWBY series. This one is looking pretty far into the future of the RWBY series, so things are definitely up for debate and are probably going to change very drastically, especially after Volume 9, because the RWBY multiverse is pretty much here, so, I'm really curious to know what you guys think. Will Salem just win herself? Will she be able to unite all the relics, and it'll come up to other people to stop the gods themselves from destroying the world? Not that really anyone can overpower the gods, but, Or do you think that someone else will achieve Salem's goal for her? Whether it be Cinder, whether it be RWBY, or all of Team RWBY, or possibly someone else entirely. Do you think that maybe Ozpin, or in this case Oscar, will be the one to resummon the gods, and he'll have something to say as the most recent incarnation of Ozma, perhaps? I'm really curious to know what you guys think, so make sure to let me know. And if you guys did enjoy this video, got you thinking a bit more about what's going to happen in the RWBY series, make sure to subscribe and join the Guild of the Eternal Flame. Tweet me at Phoenix Knight 7, and I'll see you guys in the next video.